What's up, plant lovers? Devin is here, and we have just witnessed an incredible spectacle of autumn changing colors here in Westchester, Pennsylvania. It's been very inspiring, and over the course of the last few weeks, I decided I wanted to capture a video documenting 25 of my favorite plants that I've noticed in my area, Zone 6B here in Chester County, that just bring incredible autumn brilliance, both trees, shrubs, and herbaceous perennials. But before we get to that list, a quick side note on autumn changing colors. Here in Westchester, I've lived in Indiana, Colorado, Seattle, Connecticut, and Westchester has by far the very best autumn colors. If you have a chance to visit this area, please do. There's lots of beautiful botanical gardens to enjoy those colors. One of the primary reasons is that here in Westchester, we don't have a lot of extremes. We don't have lots of super cold nights followed by quite warm days like, for instance, we would in Indiana, we might have one random cold snap, and that often would stop the colors changing kind of like in their tracks and also cause the leaves to drop prematurely. Here we have a very nice gradual shift into cooler weather, and that allows the colors to change more gradually, retaining their color and staying on the trees even longer. And also compared to somewhere like Seattle or Colorado, we have a much higher percentage of deciduous trees and shrubs, so that really illuminates the landscape beyond anywhere else I've ever traveled. If you have a place that you love with autumn colors, please make sure to leave a comment below, and hopefully one day I can go check it out as well. So first we're going to go through trees, then shrubs, then our herbaceous perennials. And the first one on the list would be Nyssa sylvatica, or the black gum. Now we're lucky enough to have one of these growing in our garden here. And this is one of my favorite trees for this time of year because the color is very unique. It has this sort of orangish reddish hue. And this is a medium-sized tree, so that doesn't get huge. These are native to the eastern and northern parts of the United States. So they're a wonderful native tree, and they are a wonderful supporter of wildlife as well. Next would be the Carya species, the hickories, in particular Carya glabra and Carya ovata. Now we have a couple of the Carya ovata here in our garden. That would be the shagbark hickory, which creates a really nice kind of shaggy trunk as the trees mature. But both of those hickories, they have these relatively large size leaves on trees that are kind of narrow but very tall, upright, and they have this wonderful rich golden yellow color that absolutely contrasts with everything else, and you can see it from a mile away. They are a member of the walnut family, and as such produce like walnut size like seeds that can drop, and if you have your cars parked underneath, can definitely do some damage. Now, perhaps the king of the autumn gardens would be the sugar maple, Acer saccharum, and these are the ones that like the iconic fall color. This is bright golden oranges. It's just absolutely insane. Now, there's lots of different sugar maples, some which get huge, some which stay small. They're all quite uniform in their size. It's a very kind of iconic looking tree. And if you do have, if you are looking to add some trees to your garden, adding a sugar maple is a great choice. This is also the select species that produces the most maple syrup. The Sourwoods, or Oxydendrum arboretum. This is a smaller understory tree. It's also called the lily of the valley tree because they produce lily of the valley like flowers in the springtime. But in the autumn time, it's this deep maroon reddish mahogany color, and it's a wonderful understory tree, so you can have it under the canopy of your large tulip trees, large beech trees, to really create this layered look. Fantastic option. No list would be complete without Japanese maples, Acer palmatum. We have a couple here in my garden. I think any garden, whether large or small, if you have any room, every garden should have one Japanese maple because there's so much variety that you can choose from. Some which get huge, some which stay very small, some which have foliage that turns like purples and reds, others which turn bright oranges. Lots of beautiful varieties out there. They have a relatively wide zonal range, zones 5 to 9, so if you have a little bit of room in your garden, consider adding one of these. Now, the Katsura tree, or Cerciphyllum japonicum, this is a tree that we don't have a lot of here in eastern Pennsylvania, but when I used to live in Seattle, they had a few of these which would line the streets, and oftentimes you would actually smell them before you would see them. Yes, they have these beautiful kind of like rich golden yellow foliage, but the foliage actually smells like a burnt caramel or maple syrup. It's delightful. Our native dogwood, the Cornus Florida. Florida in this instance doesn't stand for the state Florida. Florida stands for flowering. This is the flowering dogwood. It produces gorgeous flowers in the springtime, but in the autumn time they have this wonderful scarlet maroon foliage that really is just a wonderful foil against other more richer green foliage trees because it's a smaller tree, it's an understory tree. It often will stay like, you know, between 20 to 30 feet tall. So it's a wonderful option, native, and it's easy to incorporate into your gardens. Now here's a tree that I'm saving up for. This is a Stewartia pseudocamilia. This is a Japanese tree, and this is one of the most expensive trees out there. If you're trying to add one, they'll be like easily thousands of dollars, oftentimes more than Japanese maples. And the reason is because they're absolutely sophisticated. They bring 3-season interest, spring, summer, and autumn. But in the autumn time, they have the very unique apricot-y golden foliage that is incredible. The bark is peely as they get older. This is a very incredible medium small size tree. Now here's one that I was not familiar with before visiting one of my local botanical gardens, Longwood Gardens. This is the Heptacodium miconioides, and this comes from Asia, and it has, yes, the beautiful foliage, but look at those flowers. I don't think I've ever seen a tree that produces flowers like that in the autumn. It's also beloved by pollinators because it's producing these wonderful flowers rich with pollen at a time of the year that it can be relatively challenging for the pollinators to find food. All right, so now let's move on to our shrubs. The first one would be Corylopsis species. There's a number of different species out there that produce beautiful greenish yellow foliage in the autumn time. These are great multi-stemmed shrubs. They have a very wonderful energy. They really fill out the space great. And planting it on corners, in a shrub border, you will definitely create a scene with these. Okay, so hydrangea paniculata is a panicle hydrangeas. Most of us are familiar that these are incredible shrubs that produce beautiful panicle flowers. Lots of different varieties out there. There's got to be hundreds of different varieties out there, some of which produce flowers that turn wonderful ruby reds in the autumn time. Others don't do so well, so if you are looking to add some panicle hydrangeas to your garden, make sure that you do a little research to find which ones will produce this gorgeous color in the autumn time. Lots of them do, in fact, do that. All right, just a quick mention on this one. This is Euonymus, the burning bush. It's invasive in many regions, so we don't want to dwell on it, but you know, we all know it, we all love it. It does produce wonderful color, but I hope that this list of other shrubs will provide you with some great alternatives. Now, the reason that these are invasive is because as they produce their seeds, the birds will eat the seeds, they'll fly around, they'll poop them out, and those seeds are very viable and will often grow in areas where they probably shouldn't. So we'll stick away from the burning bush. All right, another American classic. This would be the Callicarpa americana, the beautyberry. Yes, full fall color doesn't just have to be the fall foliage, it can also be in the form of berries, which we'll see more of on our list. But in particular, these produce these bright purple berries beloved by birds. And how often do you see this bright purple at any time of the year? Very interesting, unique, excellent, low maintenance shrub. Now, another berry former would be Pyracantha coccinea. This is the fire thorn, called that because it produces these fiery orange berries which look incredible with the autumn energy, but they are fire thorn. They have thorns which can be quite spiky, so they are a great plant to actually create hedges. I remember some wonderful hedges of these in Seattle. It's a nice barrier to keep away deer, keep away people, and it looks great too. Well, we should probably have a whole video just about hollies or the ilex. There's lots of different hollies, many of which are native to North America. Ilex opaca, Ilex verticillata. There's some that are evergreen, some that are deciduous, some that produce red berries, some that produce orange berries, some that grow 100 feet tall, some that stay short at 8 feet tall. There's lots of different options out there, but many of them do produce these beautiful berries in the autumn time, which I think I actually just added an Ilex opaca to my garden, a dwarf variety that gets around 10 to 15 feet tall. So this is a great option. Okay, so next is the Hydrangea quercifolia, the Oakleaf Hydrangea. There's not as many varieties out there as the panicle hydrangea, but there are a lot. And the great ones, in my opinion, are the ones that produce the foliage that turns color. Unlike the panicle hydrangea whose flowers turn color, the Oakleaf foliage will turn color, and you can get some that have this beautiful, deep, rich mahogany scarlet foliage color in the autumn time, breathtaking in a shrub border. All right, so if the sugar maples are like the iconic trees of autumn, I would say Fothergilla might be the king of the shrubs for the autumn time. Both Fothergilla gardenii and Fothergilla latifolia, which gardenii would be the dwarf version, latifolia would be the larger version, which gets like 10 to 15 feet tall. The dwarf version, I've still seen it like 6-8 feet tall, so it's not like super dwarf, but they are another multi-season shrub, flowers in the spring, beautiful foliage in the summertime, and then this gorgeous color changing in the autumn time. Look at it along a border like this, just planting a few as an understory shrub. It will illuminate your gardenscape. Super easy, low maintenance shrub. I just planted one out in my yard last spring, so I'm excited to see it mature into something like this. And the last shrub on the list would be Viburnum nudum and possum haw, I think they call it. This is also another native to North America, my region in particular, and in particular there's lots of named cultivars for some of the botanical gardens around our area, such as Longwood Gardens, Winterthur, Brandywine. So this has not only the fall foliage going on, but it also produces these deep purple berries, so you get this double action, which this might make it the best colorful shrub on the list, I'm not sure. All right, so now on to the perennials. Now the first one on the list would be the toad lilies, Tricerus. Now this doesn't bring the fall foliage, but it brings flowers at a very unique time. End of October, how many plants are just coming into bloom? Yes, we have our asters, our chrysanthemums, but something a little bit more unusual, lesser known would be these toad lilies. And the flowers are super exotic looking. They look like they should be an orchid flower that you might find somewhere in Southeast Asia. In fact, these do come from Japan, so maybe that's why. Now I find that coral bells are one of the very best woodland shady perennials. I have tons growing in my garden, and I find that they look their very best both in the spring and then in the autumn when the temperatures are a little bit cooler. And in particular in the autumn, the foliage just looks extra brilliant. Here you can see some which will take on a little bit more autumn hues as well. Another very hard-working perennial would be the Ceratostigma plumbaginoides, the Hardy Plumbago. This will produce beautiful blue flowers in the autumn, but also the foliage itself will turn a rich mahogany color as well. This is an award-winning perennial because it's such a hard-working shrub. It spreads magnificently as a ground cover, perfect for your woodlandy areas, but also does well in sunnier areas too. Very versatile. I planted a flat of 72 about 2 weeks ago, so I'm excited to see mine grow and mature. All right, so now a couple of climbers, two from the genus Parthenocissus. The Boston ivy would be up first. Now, the Boston ivy is considered invasive in some areas, so do be aware of that. Make sure you check your area. Now this has a little bit of a glossier feel than its brother, the Virginia creeper. It's easily noted for only having 3 lobes in its leaves rather than 5 lobes, which the Virginia creeper has. But this will really grow very vigorously, covering your wall, covering dilapidated areas, sheds, what have you, and it produces not only the beautiful foliage in the fall, but also the berries, so it does a double whammy for us of beauty. And then its brother, the Virginia creeper, not as vigorous. It has a little bit more of a delicate beauty, but it is native to North America, so we have no worries about it being invasive. And it might produce even more incredible beauty from its foliage than its brother, the Boston ivy. So, you know, a couple nice choices for climbers. Next, we have Cyclamen heterifolium. This is the Hardy Cyclamen, which can be planted outside in the ground. Most of us know them simply as like an indoor plant that we buy for a few bucks at the grocery stores, but these can actually be grown outdoors, assuming that you are growing the right species. And in the autumn time, the flowers just kind of pop up out of nowhere, sometimes even before the foliage. And the foliage often has this beautiful kind of multi-colored marbling effect, which will look good from autumn even through winter. And then last on the list would be Amsonia hubrichtii, the narrowleaf blue star. This is another 3-season multi-interest. Blue flowers in the springtime, billowy green foliage in the summertime, and then it turns this sort of burnt yellow in the autumn time. It's fantastic on breezy days, watching it just kind of sway side to side. They do get a little bit aggressive. They grow quite large and can take over, so do be aware of that. And that's it. Those are 25 of my favorite plants for the fall garden that bring wonderful, unique color and interest. If you do have any that you think I should have added to the list or that I forgot, or things that you just absolutely love in the autumn, make sure you leave a comment in the comment section below. That's how we create our community, grow as a community, and learn from one another. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe to our channel. We're bringing new plant-related content every single week. Thank you guys for joining me here on Plant Vibrations. I'll catch you soon. Ciao.